It is Thursday, June 12th, and the sanctuary state governors from New York, Illinois, Minnesota were just dragged into the House to testify in front of the Oversight Committee, fireworks erupting as each of these governors were left speechless in defending their records, their policies on this. New York's Governor Hochul, torn to pieces, probably the most brutal 5 minutes of congressional testimony I've ever seen. We have the clip, we'll watch it. Also, Congress codifying the first round of doge cuts. Yes, it's happening. Wait till you see which of these cuts were included, and more stories as well from around the country. But before we get started, we got to pay the bills. If you appreciate these regular updates, please like and subscribe, share the video with a friend. All of that helps out, and we appreciate it. So the Trump administration flexing their power this morning, using the Republican-controlled House to pressure Democrat-controlled sanctuary states to stop fighting them, fighting ICE, refusing to work with ICE on criminal alien deportation, something that is an 80-20 issue. Let's be honest, 80% of the American public support deporting all illegal aliens, not just hardened criminals, but all of them. Something 8 years ago, even the populist wing of the Dem Party supported. People like Bernie Sanders agreed completely. They were in lockstep, him and Donald Trump. Watch.
Open borders.
Borders.
That's a Koch brothers proposal. The
Really?
idea, of course, I mean, that's a right-wing proposal which says essentially there is no United States.
But it would make a lot
me.
of global poor richer, wouldn't it?
And it'd make everybody in America poor. Then you're doing away with the concept of a nation state. And I don't think there's any country in the world which believes in that. If you believe in a nation state, or in a country called the United States or UK or Denmark or any other country, you have an obligation, in my view, to do everything we can to help poor people. What right-wing people in this country would love is an open border policy. Bring in all kinds of people who work for $2 or $3 an hour. That would be great for them. I don't believe in that. I think we have to raise wages in this country. I think we have to do everything that we can to create the millions of jobs. Do you know what youth unemployment in the United States of America today? If you're white, a white kid, high school graduate, 33%, a Hispanic, 36%, African-American, 51%. You think we should open the borders and bring in a lot of low-wage workers? Or do you think maybe we should try to get jobs for those kids? So I think from a moral responsibility, we've got to work with the rest of the industrialized world to address the problems of international poverty. But you don't do that by making people in this country even poorer.
What happened, Bernie? This was when a lot of MAGA supporters were going to vote for you. Illegals compete for American jobs. They work for less money. They work under the table, and it hurts the working class in this country. Trump ran on this issue, probably his largest campaign promise, and he's doing it. They've already sealed the southern border. Now they've begun the mass deportation process. The problem they're running into is the majority of these illegals live in sanctuary states and cities. We saw last week Trump's border czar begin carrying out these operations in these locations. They're going to the belly of the beast. They're going to LA, they're going to New York City, Chicago. And what happened? Things exploded in LA. From what I've been told, Tom Homan personally gave Governor Newsom and Karen Bass a heads up on their plans 2 weeks ago, 2 weeks before they actually went in, hoping once they learned who they were serving these warrants to, they'd agree with them. We want these people off the streets. These are some of the worst people in the world, hardened criminals, murderers, predators, gang leaders. In every other state, when ICE serves a felony warrant, they work with local authorities to find and apprehend the suspect. But in these sanctuary cities and states, the mayors and governors refuse to help. And I'm told Tom Homan believes they even tipped these people off. Why would they do that? If Governor Newsom of California or Governor Hochul of New York are told by ICE they're looking for this illegal who's in Queens, New York, can you help us find him? Why would they say no? In what world does it make sense to say no? Well, that's what's happening. In New York, it's so bad. Some local sheriffs helping ICE in secret now, working behind the scenes to help get ICE the info they need to get these guys off the streets. Governor Hochul yesterday finding out about this, calling them renegade sheriffs, saying her office is looking into them now. Watch what she said.
Our state policy, our state law does not allow for our state police to be involved in those situations. Now, what we have are some renegade counties in New York because individual counties can sign a pact with ICE, and we have a lot of them, some on Long Island, some in upstate New York, where there's different political views. They are cooperating with their local police departments, but what I control is the state police, and they will not cooperate in that.
Well, this morning, Republicans in Congress holding her accountable, shaming her into silence. Probably the most brutal 5-minute question session I've ever seen on the Hill. Watch what happened.
Ms. Stefanik from New York.
Thank you. Governor Hochul, on your first day in office, you signed Executive Order 1. Is that correct?
I believe it is.
And you extended this executive order not once, not twice, but 3 times, most recently January 16th this year. Is that correct?
If that's what your facts show, I signed countless executive orders.
I would assume you'd know it's
laws.
Executive Order 1. And this is a continuation of your predecessor's sanctuary state policies, correct? Is included in that.
I want to be sure we are defining sanctuary state properly.
I'll define it for you. It is the policy of the state that state officers or employees shall not disclose information to federal immigration authorities for the purpose of federal civil immigration enforcement. It goes on to say, law enforcement officers may not use resources, equipment, or personnel for the purpose of detecting and apprehending any individual suspected or wanted for violating a civil immigration office. Law enforcement officers have no authority in the state of New York to take any policy action solely because the person is an undocumented alien. That's a quote in your executive orders that you extended. Now, do you know who Sakir Akan is?
I want to get back to the first part.
No, I'm asking a question. Do you know who Sakir Akan is?
I want to make sure you understand that this simply says that we will cooperate with ICE.
No, it does not say that. I read what it says, and let me talk to you about the results. Do you know who Sakir Akan is? You should, as the governor of New York State. Do you know?
Refresh my recollection.
He was an illegal migrant in New York. And do you know what crime he committed in addition to being here illegally?
No, I do not.
You do not. This was widely reported. He found a 15-year-old girl, threatened her with a metal pole, told her to get into the back seat of his car. He took her clothes off, and he violently raped her in Albany, New York. Do you know who Sebastian Zapita Khalil is?
I'm sure you'll tell me there's many cases, whether they're
These are high-profile cases. Yes. New Yorkers know about them, and you don't. So let's talk about Sebastian Zapita Khalil. Do you know who that is?
I don't have the specific details at my disposal, no.
Well, this is an illegal migrant in New York because of your sanctuary state policies. Do you know what crime he committed?
I'm not familiar at this moment.
I bet you're going to be familiar when I remind you. He found a sleeping woman on the subway, lit her on fire, and burned her alive. This is in Hochul's, New York. And as I'm sure you are aware, and I'll remind you, that ICE issued an order to detain this violent criminal, but that was rejected by New York officials due to sanctuary state laws. Now, do you know who Raymond Rojas Basilio is?
I just want to say this. These crimes are horrific.
Because of your sanctuary state policies.
In all of these cases, we would work with ICE to remove them.
You did not in this case. They are walking on the streets because of your policies and your executive order that you signed 3 times. Now, Raymond Rojas Basilio, do you know who that is?
I'm telling you this. I will explain you the policies of New York. We cooperate with, I know you're just trying to.
You do not. Specifically, ICE was told not to detain this individual, and he burned a woman alive on the New York subways in Kathy Hochul's New York. So I will keep on going. What about Raymond Rojas Basilio? Do you know who that is?
I'm going to tell you our overall policy, which will address all this.
I'll tell you who that is. He is an illegal who molested an 11-year-old in our state because, again, of your sanctuary state policies. This illegal was shielded from federal immigration enforcement and able to commit this heinous crime. And what about Wilson Castillo-Diaz? Do you know who that is?
I'm telling you this. We do cooperate fully with ICE in criminal prosecution. Our sanctuary
You're not advocating for these victims.
Only deal
this
with
is a 5-year-old who was raped on Long Island in Nassau County. You are not advocating on behalf of these victims. You are shielding illegals. Even in your opening statement, you prioritize putting illegals first.
That is not
Rapes
true.
of young girls, beatings of NYPD cops by illegals who are here under Kathy Hochul's failed policies, burning New Yorkers alive. This is Kathy Hochul's New York. It's one of the many reasons why you're hemorrhaging support from hardworking New York
These are
families.
horrific crimes, and they're heartbreaking.
They're horrific crimes that are committed on your watch. You signed this executive order on your first day in office. You signed it again and again this January. We deserve a governor who stands up for law-abiding New Yorkers, doesn't put illegals first, but actually puts New Yorkers first. I appreciate
Rather than
the
going
chairman's...
after the viral moment, I suggest you look at the facts.
I'm standing up for New Yorkers.
No.
Rather than addressing the illegals in New York, you are prioritizing your far-left sanctuary state policies, which you put in place with executive orders.
This goes back to September of 2017. Then New York Governor Andrew Cuomo signing Executive Order number 170, establishing New York as an official sanctuary state. In that EO, it specifically orders local law enforcement not to cooperate with ICE, barring state and local police from arresting or detaining any individual for immigration violations, even if requested by federal immigration authorities. It prevents state resources from being used to investigate or detain anyone for immigration status or enforcement, and it bans state agencies from even sharing personal info with ICE. Cuomo signed that order originally in 2017. The original order was only for civil cases, not criminal cases. Kathy Hochul continued the order, but she added to it. Now there's like no assistance at all between local authorities and ICE. It's called Executive Order number 170 version 1, 170.1. The revised version, Jim Jordan today, exposing just how ridiculous this is. All New Yorkers can see what their government's doing. Watch.
Governor, who's Jesus Romero Hernandez?
Thank you. I want to reaffirm that we do cooperate in cases where...
That wasn't the question. I just read your statement. I can read your statement. Who is Jesus Romero Hernandez?
I don't have the details on every
I'll
single
tell ya.
person in a state of 20 million people.
I understand, but this guy's a citizen of Mexico, deported 7 times, came to your state, assaulted one of your residents with a machete, choked a police officer, then when he was in custody, assaulted a corrections officer. ICE finds out this guy is in your state's custody, and they send you a detainer. You're familiar with a detainer, right?
Yes, I am.
Notice of action immigration detainer to Tompkins County Jail from Syracuse Immigrations and Customs Enforcement. Section 1, they check a couple boxes. The first one they check is a final order of removal against the alien has taken place. That means a court has said this guy needs to go. This machete-wielding, cop-choking, corrections officer assaulting guy needs to go. Then they also check another box and they say biometric confirmation of who this individual is, this alien's identity. So they got the right guy, and a court has said he needs to go. Any idea what Tompkins County Jail decided to do with that detainer order?
I will tell you this, the state of...
It's a specific question.
Well, I'm
what
telling-
did Tompkins County do?
The descriptions you have put forth are absolutely chilling and disturbing and
course they are.
reprehensible to all of us.
Which
My job is to
which
protect
is
the
why I'm
people of
asking
New York.
the question. What
And
did
this-
Tompkins County do?
What I have
I
responsibility for
will tell you,
are
since you're not going to
state
answer.
courts,
We
state
cannot
police.
and will not hold Mr. Hernandez.
Yeah.
We can't keep the machete guy who had choked a police officer and assaulted a corrections officer. We can't keep him. In fact, we have the back and forth from Tompkins County and ICE on January 28th of this year, 8:56 p.m. Tompkins County tells ICE, we're not going to hold this guy. 7 minutes later, ICE responds back, we will be there to take custody this evening. 24 minutes later, Thompson County reiterates, we're not going to have him. We're not going to turn him over. 10:45. ICE arrives at the jail. 1 hour and 18 minutes later, and guess what? Mr. Hernandez is not there. They couldn't wait 1 hour and 18 minutes for a guy who assaulted one of your residents with a machete, choked a police officer, and then when in custody, assaulted corrections officers. That is sanctuary policy in a nutshell, and that is what your state supports, and so do these other governors.
This is actually a good strategy, probably one of the only times I've seen Congress and the White House effectively work together. The governors are trying to block Trump from carrying out deportations. Well, Congress steps in, drags them into Congress, and forces them to explain themselves. Explain your rationale for allowing these people to stay in your communities, because we know the media won't do it. They've refused to do it. Be transparent about what's really happening. This very well could pressure these governors to change direction. If there's enough pressure from their constituents, it may work. In another story, yesterday, the House voting 213 to 207 in favor of advancing $9.3 billion in doge cuts. $9.3 billion of waste, fraud, and abuse. This first rescissions package that Congress voted on yesterday targets USAID, NPR, and PBS, eliminating tax dollars from funding NPR and PBS going forward. And good riddance. This obviously a far stretch from the promised 1 to 2 trillion in cuts that Elon and Trump were aiming for, but to clarify, this is only what the House is rescinding from the approved budget. Trump and Doge already canceled 180 plus billion. What the House voted on yesterday was codifying these cuts into law, meaning the funds no longer legally allowed to be spent. They're rescinded from the approved budget. Trump, as president, still has leeway to cut federal contracts and grants as he sees fit. How it works is the president puts forth what he needs his executive budget to be. Congress votes to approve that budget, that level of spending, but it's up to him. It's up to the president, the executive branch, to spend all of that money. The president can always deem it unnecessary to spend all of it. If it's not, why spend it? That's what Doge has been doing for the last few months. Let me know in the comments if you still have some faith in Doge, even though Elon's gone. Personally, my confidence level has definitely fallen. I still feel like they'll get some stuff done under Trump. After the Trump administration, I'd have no confidence at all. If a Democrat were to win, the first thing they do is close the Department of Government Efficiency, which would be so unfortunate. In another story, President Trump yesterday ordering U.S. personnel out of parts of the Middle East as reports surfacing that Israel may be about to strike Iranian nuclear facilities, which would be the worst thing that could possibly happen. Trump telling the media last night, Iran will never have a nuclear weapon. Watch.
Could you provide an update on Iran? We're hearing reports that U.S. personnel are being moved out of the region within striking distance.
Well, they are being moved out because it could be a dangerous place, and we'll see what happens. But they are being, we've given notice to move out, and we'll see what happens.
Is there anything that could be done to dial the temperature down in the region?
They can't have a nuclear weapon, very simply. They can't have a nuclear weapon. We're not going to allow that.
All right, that wraps up this episode. Like, subscribe. We'll see you next time.